Thank you. So I'm also very happy to be here. So this cycle of teaching, Seven Mirror, this is the around 8th century. The teaching of Ligmincha is the great yogi master in Buddhist tradition, and the teaching is very much teaching on Dzogchen, the teaching of great perfection, because there's a sutric teaching, tantric teaching, there are different kind of teachings, but this is very much oriented toward the principles of Dzogchen, great perfection. And the great perfection, Dzogchen teaching, it is very much related to oneself. So basically, it's about great perfection means we are great perfection. We are perfected fully. I'm saying this because sometime when we think about the teaching, we think, oh, it's a Buddhist teaching, it's a Buddhist teaching, it's a Christian teaching. Teachings kind of more identifying with the tradition or something like that, you know. I think, I'm not sure if that's exactly the correct way to look at it. There's no question about acknowledging where it is coming from, respecting, honoring, but not getting caught up where it comes from, trying to understand what it is. So what it is, it's very much about, we can say it's about us, it's about me. So the teaching, core teaching it's about to self-realization. Okay, literally that's what it is. It's not like anything. That's exactly what it means. No? And maybe that's why we are here, right? We're here because we're trying to kind of continuously explore something else. It's more about trying to search yourself and trying to fully realize yourself. I think that's why we're here, and this is what this teaching is about. I think everybody who is in the spiritual journey, that's how this purpose should be. Purpose should be to find yourself. Purpose should be to self-realize. And also, the way, the seven mirror, of course, is a seven mirror, so there's a 7 points, which, we're trying to cover maybe, I don't know, couple of firsts this weekend. We're trying to understand what, according to Ligmincha Berlin, their knowledge, wisdom, how they're trying to describe it, but then it's more like we have to look at this as from a personal perspective. Knowledge should directly come down on your individual level and understand there. This is like a map, and you are the one taking a journey, and when you travel, you need to know where you are in order to continuously move forward. Otherwise, you have a beautiful, fancy map, and you are on this incredible journey. Your problem is 2 things. 1, you probably don't know where you're going. 2nd, you don't know where you are. And then the map has no place in your life. And unfortunately, that's true for many spiritual seekers. And sometimes people have some idea where they're going, kind of idea. And then, but they don't know. I say, maybe they do know very clear where they are, but they don't, maybe that's not true. Maybe they don't know where they are, I think. Or they for sure, wherever they are there, but that is like there's no value put into it. There's no reflections put into it. There's no genuine curiosity and to value, to understand that. That's the biggest problem, I think. In most cases, this is what I personally see all the time. But one of the reasons why people are kind of avoid to know where they are, because they think it's not a nice place to be, not interesting, painful. So there's some sense of some notion of where I'm going, it's a fantastic. Where I am, it's horrible. So why I wanted to know where I am? I don't like it. It's not interesting, painful, confusing. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to go deep into it. And people successfully able to avoid. But they don't give up the journey. They still believe they're on the path. They are on the way to their destination without knowing where they are. So what I'm trying to say here, as we kind of learn these teachings, I think it's really, really important to respect yourself. You're equally important than these teachings. Your understanding of yourself, whatever it is, it's equally important than understanding of these deep teachings. If you avoid yourself, these teachings has no function. So that's something I think this is a journey that we're starting. I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind, keep on remembering. You are very important. Where you are is the most important in the journey. As we know, right? Every place where you look at the map, what are you trying to look? Two things you're trying to look. You're trying to look, where am I? Right? Where am I? You looked at, then everybody, there's this little mark, red pointed. You're here, or a little circle if your eyes is not that good enough. Yellow circle, you know. So where you are and where you're going, where you are is a small s, not S-Bahn. Small s, the small self, and where you're going is the big self. So there's a 2s. But in journey, as you move, the s, which is heavier, darker, whatever it is, getting lighter as it approaches to the journey. The moment you arrive there at the final destination, it's illuminated. In a way, there's no distinction from path, I said, what we call base, the path, fruition. They all are the same. You have to go to realize you did not really have to go. But that's what's called journey, right? So the small self, what it is, or the experiences of itself, small self, it's what it is a very important value to know, right? But what problem with the small self is imagination of the big self. It's trying to live with imagination, but it doesn't live with what true itself is. That's the biggest problem in the journey. So that is like maybe the single most difficult and problematic for people from the beginners and to people who are almost there to liberation. Same problem. Everybody. Like even one single meditation. Think about, just for example, you can say, I'm trying to meditate, so what I'm trying to do, close the window, no noise, right temperature, right shrine. I mean, just think about everything where you think you need it, you can fix everything. Then you finally find a position, find a maybe right position, and then you're trying to sit in the right. You went from avoiding obstacles, then now you think there's no obstacles, now you're meditating. And I'm thinking, is this any other problem for me? One thought that this is a problem, but it's not. Is thinking for if there's any problem. There's no problem, but this is a problem, which I don't realize. Then I'm thinking, maybe then suddenly I realize, okay, yeah, you are the problem. Then I'm saying, okay, now finally I have no problem. What is the final one? Finally, maybe there's a sense of somebody still in charge of meditating, who is saying, who is thinking, everything is good. But that is the problem, last problem. Of course, this problem better than the noise of the car and everything, but it's the last stages of the self becoming an obstacle for that selfless journey. In one single meditation. But if you think about a larger sense of journey, it's the same thing. Same applies, Always comes down to this very subtle sense of self. Small self. It pretending to be not there. So the small self, beginning of the mat, big self, end of the mat. So what is this small self is basically a small self is like a pain identity. Okay? It sounds bad, but it's not that bad. Okay? And especially when you become a friend with it. How many of you, when you're sad, how many of you feel you can become a friend with the experience of sadness? Think about even your best friend who is sad, and you see your best friend is sad, right? Your best friend who, when he's not sad, is kind of a little bit egoistic, kind of challenging you, right? And you kind of wanted to punch. But when your best friend is sad, it's like quiet and sad, and then you feel like you're going closer, right? You feel like going closer. You wanted to say, how are you doing, you know? And you see it's sad, and you kind of hold, you be close and hold. You become closer, tender gentleness and kindness. There's a beautiful thing in that relationship of the sadness. What I'm trying to say here, there's a beauty of knowing the pain. There's a gentleness of knowing your pain. There is opening of knowing your pain. So it's very good to know where the small self is. Even though it's pain, when you know it, then journey counts. Until you know it, you have not started journey. Mm-hmm. You're just holding the map there, and you have been 10 years planning to go, but you haven't started the journey. There are many people and the practitioners. They have a map, they're holding their map, and they're standing there, one position for many years. And you say, why are you standing here? And I'm planning to go. Where? Up there, far there. And when the journey starts, I don't know. Of course, you don't know when the journey starts, because journey does not start until you recognize your pain, your ego. Doesn't start. You know, this is what I was giving example on one of my Facebook page about Muhammad Ali, this boxer, and somebody asked him how much push-up he does, and the answer was that I don't count, and I only count when it starts to hurt. The truth is, journey only count when it starts to hurt. The development only count when it began to hurt. You began to build your muscles only when it began to hurt. So it's exactly the same. Spiritual journey is the same thing. So somehow it hurts, but then you recognize, then it doesn't hurt. Hurting comes more distance and resisting and not knowing it. But when you go closer, connect and know it, pain is no longer stays pain. Pain begin to transform. And that very critical moment is where people have very big challenge to come close with. Okay? So that's it. So this is I'm trying to set up foundation of the approaches to the teaching. Okay? Acknowledge yourself. Go closer to the pain until you feel this beauty, gentleness, relationship to your pain. First, four mirror, this is our main overall emphasis of first four mirror. View, the heart mirror of the view, the heart mirror of the meditation, heart mirror of the result, and the heart mirror of conduct. So these are four what we're going to emphasize this weekend. Tawa, Gompa, Chopa. View, meditation, and conduct. Now remember the small self and the big self?
Yeah.
So what really view is, what really meditation is, what really conduct is the big self. But what is my view is, what is my meditation is, what is my conduct is the small self. But the small self, acknowledging the small self in order to journey to the big, it's very important. You cannot get into the big journey until you acknowledge the small self.